Hey, this is Mike from the Run Testers, and in this video we're going to be talking about how the new Asics Superblast 2 compares to the Novablast 4 shoes that we've absolutely enjoyed running in, but probably do overlap a little bit in terms of the types of runs they excel at. But if you had to pick one, or if we had to pick one, which one would we go for? Now, myself and Tom have both tested these two shoes. First, we're going to take you through the key differences between the two, then get into our running experiences, and then let you know whether you should go for the Asics Novablast 4 or the Asics Superblast 2. So here's a quick rundown of the key differences between the Asics Superblast 2 and the Novablast 4. The Superblast 2 is the significantly pricier of the two shoes, so you're going to have to be prepared to pay a carbon racing shoe-like price to pick them up. Weight-wise, the Novablast 4 weighed in slightly lighter than the Superblast 2. In a UK men's size 8, they only buy a couple of grams. Both shoes have an 8mm drop, though the stack heights do differ greatly, with the Superblast having the noticeably bigger stack at the heel. They both feature woven uppers, similar gusseted tongues, and a similar amount of padding at the heel collar. At the midsole, the Novablast includes FF Blast Plus Eco to deliver a lively ride, but also some plushness and protection for regular runouts. The Superblast also includes Plus Eco with a top layer of FF Blast Turbo Plus to provide bounce and a responsive feel similar to the Metaspeed Sky and Edge Paris racing shoes. The outsole of the Superblast 2 uses a hybrid Asics grip one to offer strong durability and even give it scope to wander off-road. The Novablast 4 features an Asics AHR outsole to make sure it's one that can soak up plenty of running time too.
So the fit for me in the Superblast 2, I'm a size 8 in the UK, this is a size 8. I have found it to be absolutely fine. There's plenty of space before my big toe in this shoe, and there's also plenty of wiggle room in the forefoot, so I found it to be very comfortable. It doesn't seem too narrow for me. I think the earlier Superblast was very comfortable as well. There doesn't seem to be any major changes from it, and there's plenty of padding as well. So I stick to my size in the Superblast 2. Novablast 4, I have average width feet, and I've not had any issues with this shoe at all. The length of these shoes is pretty much identical, and I think the Novablast may be slightly more narrow in the midfoot, but I would still stay to my UK size 8 in the Novablast 4.
So in terms of fit, I've got both of these shoes in a UK size 8. That's my typical running shoe size, and I'd say my experience in both of these shoes has been very good. No major issues to talk about. Very happy with the space up in the toes. I think the hold, the lockdown, those kind of things have been generally very good. As I said in the Superblast 2 review, I have had to kind of play around with the lacing on the shoe to get a slightly better lockdown here, but once I've done that, it's been absolutely fine. I haven't really had to do that in the Novablast 4. It's kind of works very well out of the box. I would say, you know, the biggest differences for me, I think, really come down to the nature of the uppers. That kind of slightly influences the kind of feel of how they are and how they fit. I would say with the Novablast 4, maybe naturally feels a little bit more kind of accommodating. I think it feels like it's a little bit more snug feeling, particularly in the middle of the shoe, where I think the Superblast 2 kind of narrows a little bit more of that Metaspeed feel of locking you in a little bit at that midfoot. But then other than that, you're getting very similar kind of feelings, similar tongues, similar level of padding. The heel collars, it's slightly more narrow at the Achilles on the Novablast 1. If that's something you prefer, then that's what you're going to get there. On the Superblast, it's a little bit more open, but it's not massively wide. And so the level of padding is very similar overall. So I would say the Novablast 4 is a little bit more accommodating in general, a little bit more snug and comfortable in, you know, throughout the upper and the general fit. I would say the Superblast 2 maybe just locks in a little bit more in places, give you that kind of racing kind of feel to it without, you know, kind of really losing that kind of, you know, accommodating feel in general. So yeah, I think going true to size in both of these shoes should be absolutely fine for most people.
So comparing these two shoes, if I looked at one of the earlier Novablasts and compared it with the Superblast 2, it wouldn't be a very fair comparison, because it feels like the Asics has learnt a lot from the creation of the Superblast and has modified the Novablast over this most recent version, the version 4, to take learnings from the original Superblast. And it uses this FF Blast Plus midsole foam, which is a very nice, responsive, comfortable midsole foam that is quite versatile as well. and some of the earlier Novablast shoes weren't. So for me, the 2 wasn't great, but the 3 really was not an enjoyable training shoe for me. It just didn't seem to have any life in it. I definitely think it was a very versatile shoe. The Novablast 4 has reverted back to being a more versatile shoe, so it is a really comfortable, easy day shoe to wear, but you can do a lot more in it. You can really pick up the pace in this shoe. It's not as fast as something like the Saucony Dolphin Speed 4 for me, but it is still a great versatile training shoe. If you only bought one pair of trainers and you did all your running in it, Novablast 4 is a good shout, because you can, that foam's really good. You get a lot of nice pickup from it when you're out on the run, but it's soft enough to be comfortable as well. So it's a really good, solid daily shoe. If you want to pick up the pace in that. But the early version, the Novablast 3, I wouldn't compare with the Superblast or the Superblast 2, just because it was in a completely different lower tier for me when it came to running shoes. The new Superblast 2 has new foam in it, an updated foam, so FF Blast Turbo Plus, and as a result, it is a little bit poppier, feels a little bit faster on the feet, but not massively. It's not a major upgrade from the original Superblast. I ran a lot of miles in the original Superblast. I think it's one of the best shoes that came out last year. This feels like more of the same. It's a very it's a small progression of that shoe, which is nice, because I don't want them I was worried that they'd make some big changes to the Superblast and it would lose the magic. Still has the magic, still a very fast, comfortable shoe that you can do a lot of stuff in. So both of these shoes are designed to be versatile. The Novablast skews more towards those daily runs that you can go faster in. The Superblast 2, more for those sort of longer tempo efforts, things like that, but you can do easy runs in it, but you can do infill sessions in it. It's just a fantastic performance focused all-rounder, whereas Novablast isn't really a performance focused shoe, but you can do a bit more on it. They are quite similar in some ways. The ride feels quite similar. Neither is a soft shoe. They both have foams that do give a nice bit of pop back. Not loads of bounce, not loads of energy return, but just a nice bit of responsiveness and a lightweight feeling on the feet. So they're quite similar in that respect. Other things I would say about these shoes is that the Novablast 4 does very well for me at most distances. But it doesn't excel at anything really for me. I think I could use it for most runs and I'd be very, very happy with it. But the Superblast and the Superblast 2 really excel at longer sessions. It really just gets you into this really good cruising groove where you can just really, really enjoy a nice consistent pace and pick it up. I haven't done any marathon training this year because I've not trained for a marathon since I've got it. But the Superblast 1 I used for a lot of my 30k runs where I had about 20k, 25k at tempo pace or marathon pace, and it just did an amazing job at that. And this feels very similar, that it really is designed for those longer training sessions where you need to maintain a really good pace. The outsole on these shoes is actually very similar. There's been a bit of an updated outsole on the Superblast 2. I haven't really noticed as much of a difference. There's a bit less rubber on it than the original Superblast, presumably to try and keep the weight down. But really, the outsole on both of these I had no issues at all on, and I've ran in the wet quite a lot in the Novablast 4. Haven't really run in much of the wet in the Superblast 2, but on all the runs that I've done in it, it feels absolutely fine. So I think there's a good outsole on both of these.
So in terms of my running experience in these two shoes, I've done about the same distance-wise, probably a little bit more in the Novablast 4, so just over 50k in this shoe, 50k in this shoe. And I would say overall my time in both these shoes has been very good. I think, this is my favourite Novablast so far. I think if you are looking for a nice up-tempo daily trainer, one that's comfortable, kind of ticks all the key boxes, and this is a very good one at a very good price. This shoe, this is the first time I've run in a Superblast. It's expensive, more expensive than this. But I think in terms of all the runs I've done, it's felt very, very good to do, and even to race in as well. Now, obviously, there are some similarities. They have weighed in the same for me in a UK size 8, and I've put them both back on and going to run a little bit in them as well too, and they do feel very similar in terms of those weights. There isn't like they weigh in the same but don't feel like that when you're out running, so that's I think a good thing, and that's consistent across the two shoes. There's similar kind of characteristics in terms of the upper as well too, and that kind of general fit. And then I get down to the kind of midsoles, and obviously this has got a bit more of a bigger stack in it compared to the Novablast 4. It's a decent stack in here as well too. Obviously the makeup of those midsoles are very different. This has that FF Blast Eco Plus in here. That's in here as well too, but you're also going to FF Blast Turbo Plus from the Metaspeed range as well. Now, what I think that does in terms of experience, I think first and foremost, these are shoes you can run up tempo in. They do feel very nice today. You do roll very nicely through from heel to toe in both of these shoes, and it feels good to do that. I would say, you know, when I've thrown them back on, I feel that the Novablast 4 feels a little bit more softer underfoot. It's still pretty responsive, and you do get something that, you know, does feel nice to run a little bit quicker in, but it does feel softer in comparison to the Superblast 2. Now, obviously, you are getting a combination of foams. You're getting something, I think, that's bouncier on this shoe. I think more lively than the Novablast 4, probably more in keeping with the previous Novablast shoes. But also, I think you're getting something that's very controlled as well too. I think it's the same here. It's a very stable shoe in general. But I think obviously you are getting more foam in here. And the combination of foams means you're getting a slightly harder edge to the Superblast 2 in comparison. You know, you don't sink into it as much as you do on the Novablast 4. And I think that's something I really noticed in my running time with them. I think ultimately you are getting shoes that you can run quicker in. I do think this has a bit more of a faster edge to it. I think having that kind of meta speed influence in terms of that midsole, I think has made that happen. Obviously, you don't have a plate in there. You don't have a plate in this shoe as well too. So for kind of all out speed work, I don't think these are shoes that ultimately I would turn to. But if I had to pick one, I would feel more comfortable doing this despite having that kind of bigger stack in here as well. It really kind of handles the size of the shoe, or handles its size very well. Whereas I think with the Novablast 4, you can definitely kind of get up to a really nice breezy kind of quick pace in this as well too. But I felt that when I've run a little bit quicker or a little bit harder, I found that the midsole in here just lends itself a little bit more to it. But I do think there is an overlap in terms of the types of runs that these shoes will work for. And I think if you are looking for shoes that you can ease off in but also run a little bit quicker and up tempo, I think these are shoes that don't feel awkward to do that. I just think in terms of the midsole makeups, it's a little bit softer feeling in terms of what you're feeling on the Novablast 4. It's a little bit bouncier, a little bit firmer on the Superblast 2 in comparison. In terms of outsoles, you know, gripping wise, you are getting more rubber here on the Novablast 4, and I expect this to last a little bit longer and survive a lot more of your running time. Now, as I said in the Superblast 2 review that we did, I've done my testing across two shoes, so I can't really say a huge amount, I think, you know, across my 50k just yet about what I think the durability is going to be on this shoe. You know, I'm not seeing bad signs of wear in my running time yet, but I do feel like, you know, in terms of durability, this is going to give you a bit more overall.
My verdict on these two shoes: if you're going to buy one of these shoes, it largely comes down to budget. I think if you've got an unlimited budget, I think you're going to want to go Superblast 2. I think most people would be able to use this shoe and get the benefits of it, whether you're just doing lots of easy runs, whether you're doing park runs, or whether you're training for like a sub-3 marathon. This shoe is a great option for all of those different runs. So if money was no object, I would say get the Superblast. But if that is quite an expensive shoe for you, which it is a very expensive shoe, and you're looking for something more like a daily shoe that you can do a little bit more in, I think the Novablast 4 is absolutely fine for that. I think it's a very comfortable, good shoe, and a solid, versatile shoe if you want to do racing in it, if you want to go and do interval sessions and things like that, and you only want to buy one pair of shoes. I think it's a good option. I would say that shoes like the Saucony Endorphin Speed 4 I think are better than the Novablast 4. Not as comfortable. I think the Novablast 4 skews a little bit more towards the easier daily miles, the comfortable daily miles, whereas the Speed 4 really is designed for speed. So it just has a little bit one up on that. But I do think the Superblast is a better long run shoe than the Speed 4. So it really comes down to money. If you have lots of money and you want to buy the expensive shoe that is the best out of these two, get the Superblast 2. If you don't want to spend loads of money and you just want a shoe that's pretty good, get the Novablast 4 because it's a solid daily trainer that does a good job at most things.
So my take on whether you should go for the Novablast 4 or the Superblast 2. Well, I think these are two very good shoes. I think, you know, two shoes I've really enjoyed running in, two, you know, kind of standout daily training options that you can look at. This is obviously the more affordable one. This is a little bit more expensive. There are some clear similarities in terms of the weight, in terms of aspects of the fit and the upper as well too. I think what it comes down to for me is what you want from a daily trainer. I think for me with the Novablast 4, I think that it is a little bit better for those kind of daily training miles. I think it's a little bit softer feeling compared to the Superblast 2. Maybe isn't as lively and bouncy as the Superblast 2. And if that's something that you want, then this shoe is going to give you this in a bit more abundance. I do think these are shoes that you can run, you know, slightly quicker in, more up tempo in, can run, can do longer runs in them as well. They're going to be comfortable to do that. I think maybe you're getting a little bit more protection in the Superblast 2 simply because you are getting a little bit more in that stack, particularly at the heel. So if that's something you were looking for, something that is a little bit more protected over longer distances, I would be inclined to say the Superblast 2 is a bit of a better fit. I think if you are looking for value, I think, you know, the Novablast 4 will serve you well. It's a shoe I've really enjoyed. I know we've all been fans of on the channel. I think if you're looking for a shoe, a bit of a do-it-all shoe as well, like the Superblast 2, and can handle up tempo paces, you can ease off in it as well too. There's a nice rocker in there as well. And maybe getting a little bit more in terms of the outsole and the kind of life you're probably going to get out of that shoe, then yeah, go for the Novablast 4. If you're looking for the lively, fun shoe to run in, I think maybe it's a little bit more protective over longer distances, but also I think has a little bit more of a faster edge to it personally for me based on my experience. I would be going for the Superblast 2. I think, you know, two very good Asics shoes, and I think you're not going to go very wrong going with either of these shoes. That's how I kind of see it for me in terms of picking between the two. Okay, so there you have it. That is our take on how the new Asics Superblast 2 compares to Novablast 4. Now, if you've got any questions about anything talked about in this video, do let us know in the comments. If there are other videos you want to see this shoe compared to, do let us know about those. But don't worry, we have got more on the way. Obviously, we have got our full review of this. We have got a comparison with the Superblast as well too, and we'll put links into this video as well. As always, like and subscribe. Hit that little bell to find out about our latest videos, and yeah, we'll see you for the next run testers video.